Dignitaries, esteemed guests, colleagues, and my dear students. Good morning and Jharkhandi Johar to all of you present here. At the outset, I am thrilled to be part of this exciting two-day conference, and I extend a heartfelt congratulations to the organizing team at the Department of International Relations led by Dr. Vibhuti Biswas for conceptualizing such a timely and deeply relevant theme, one that does not merely describe our region South Asia, but also challenges us to understand, interpret and shape its future trajectory. Professor Chariji has beautifully set the intellectual tone for the two-day conference, and from there I'll just pick up a few bits, because I'm told as part of the felicitation address, I need to talk about the topic and a little bit about our collaboration. So I hope that I'll be doing justice to the same. Thank you. South Asia today is not merely undergoing change, it is undergoing a contest for power, influence and strategic control. And history is quite unforgiving to those who fail to recognize such moments. Nations that lack strength, whether it is intellectual or whether it is military or economic or even cultural, they do not shape history, they are rather shaped by it. The theme of this seminar, which is Socio-Political Flux in South Asia, Regime Change, Recalibrating Geopolitical Dynamics and Resetting Balance of Power, is not merely descriptive, but it is diagnostic. What we are witnessing in the region is not instability alone. We are witnessing the restructuring of regional hierarchies, the emergence of strategic dependencies, and also the intensification of external interventions. This will become more clearer when we look at developments around us. The economic crisis in Sri Lanka, it revealed how fragile the economies can quickly become when it becomes an arena of strategic vulnerability. The political shifts in Nepal reflect not only just a contest between competing geopolitical influences, but also the rising aspirations for development and the aspirations of the Gen Z generation seeking opportunity, dignity, and also agency. The evolving stance of Maldives demonstrates how the smaller states are navigating and at times also leveraging the great power competition. And beyond the region, the Indo-Pacific has emerged as a central theme of global strategic rivalry, while the tensions in the Middle East, including those involving Iran, it reminds us that the regional instability today is deeply interconnected with global dynamics. So let us be very clear that economic crises in the region are not accidental, they are rather geopolitical leveraging points. Political instability is not isolated, it is often strategically amplified, and democracy in itself is increasingly being instrumentalized in the global power politics. And this interconnectedness brings us to the fundamental truth that power defines order. We all must have heard the wonderful traditional saying that Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita, which means that Dharma protects those who protects it. But in today's world, Dharma cannot survive without Shakti, which is power. And without strength, the values remain mere rhetoric, sovereignty becomes fragile, and independence becomes very, very negotiable. And once we recognize this, the question naturally turns towards India. India today stands at decisive crossroads. The question is not whether India is rising, this is no more a question, but whether India is going to define the regional order or merely adjust to it. India possesses the demographic depth, the tech capabilities, the strategic geography, and a civilizational worldview in balance. But potential without assertion is irrelevant. We all have the potential, but unless we assert it, the whole matter becomes unnecessary. So India must actually move from being a mere balancing power to becoming a power architect. Because in geopolitics, if you do not shape the rules, you will be forced to follow them. Hence, the direction derived from the larger vision articulated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a confident, self-reliant and globally engaged India is very far-sighted and visionary. At IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, we approach knowledge differently. We do not seek knowledge as a passive accumulation, we see it as a strategic capital. Because in the 21st century, data is power, narratives are power, and ideas are power. This collaboration for the conference with the Department of International Relations at the Central University of Jharkhand is therefore not merely ceremonial. It is a strategic partnership to ensure that research informs policy, academia engages with governance, and young scholars sitting here, they become producers of strategic thought. And this brings us to an important reflection on academia itself. Because all of us almost are from the academia. The age of passive academia is over. The scholars cannot remain mere or neutral observers. They must become analysts of power, interpreters of strategy, contributors to national and global discourses. As the Upanishadic call reminds us, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. And this is not just an inspiration, it is a call to intellectual responsibility. And this responsibility is reflected in the changing nature of the discipline of international relations itself. One of the most remarkable aspects of the seminar, as evident from the program, if you have the program list with you, is its interdisciplinary depth. We see discussions on regime change, democratic fragility, debt crises in neighboring countries, India's soft power and regional diplomacy, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, maritime geopolitics, and Indo-Pacific strategy, perfectly crafted for a 2-day brainstorming. As I must say, with these kinds of seminar topics, we can see that the boundaries of international relations is dissolving. Today, international relations no longer is about diplomacy or war. It is about data and digital power, it is about climate and resource conflicts, it is about narratives and perceptions, economics, and also connectivity. And therefore, our approach must evolve. We must move from merely studying the world, but we must move towards shaping the world. And South Asia today is being shaped by multi-alignment strategies, maritime cooperation and competition in the Indo-Pacific, technological disruption and cyber warfare, climate-linked geopolitical stresses. And in such contexts, we need to have clarity. So clarity is very essential. India must recognize that influence must be built and sustained and not assumed. Soft power without hard power is ineffective. And strategic ambiguity cannot replace strategic intent. So in this evolving landscape, India does hold a very unique and complex position. Not merely as a regional power, but as a civilizational anchor and a strategic balancer. India's approach towards today reflects neighbourhood first policy, Act East policy, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Indo-Pacific vision, and also the Viksit Bharat 2047 aspirations. But with opportunity also comes responsibility. India must lead through dominance. India must not only lead through dominance, but also through dialogue over disruption, partnership over patronage, and trust over transaction. Because the future of South Asia cannot be built on asymmetry alone, it must be built on cooperation. And this brings me to the most important part of my deliberation today, is to the important stakeholders who are sitting in this conference hall. You are part of this important transformation, the young minds who are sitting here. You are not just students of international relations, I've had the opportunity to meet and interact with you on previous occasions here, but what I found and what I feel is that you are the future architects of geopolitical thought. And for that you will need courage. Because karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana means your right is to action alone, not to its results. So interpreting this in today's scenario, action must not only be taken, but it should be decisive and it should be impactful. So do not fear complexity, my dear students. Do not avoid difficult questions and do not settle for borrowed frameworks. Remember, the future of geopolitics will not be shaped in war rooms, but it will be shaped in classrooms, conferences, and conversations like these. So let me conclude not with an answer, but with a question. And I say this inspired by Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, who was my teacher and mentor during my MA and MPhil at JNU, whose lectures always leaves the audience with a food for thought that continues long after the session ends. So if South Asia today is being reshaped by external pressures, internal transitions, and rising aspirations, will we remain mere interpreters of this transformation, or will we become its architects? Will we continue to analyze power, or will we learn to exercise and shape it? Because ultimately, the future of South Asia will not be decided only in the corridors of power, but in spaces like this, and in minds like yours. And as we reflect on this, Yatha Raja Tatha Praja, as the leadership, so the people. If our intellectual leadership is strong, our strategic direction will be stronger. The question is no longer what the world is becoming, the question is what role will we choose to play in shaping it. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Johar and Jai Hind.